Hello everybody and welcome back to another Kings of War Battle Report. I'm Visibly Riley, and today we have Night Stalkers versus Free Dwarves. This battle was fought at 2300 points and the scenario was Dominate. First off, we have my opponent's Free Dwarf army, which is 5 points off, but I can't figure it out. Anyway, we open with a Free Dwarf Shield Breaker Horde with a Brew of Strength, and since a lot of these units have Free Dwarf in front of them, I'm just going to stop saying that now. Followed by a Brock Rider Regiment with a Brew of Sharpness, an Earth Elemental Horde with the Aegis of the Elohi, 2 Ranger Regiments, one of whom has the Blessing of the Gods upgrade, and the other has Hernius' Handpicked Rangers. That's not how you spell Hernius, by the way. Then we have a Dwarf Lord on Large Beast with the Blade of Slashing, a Massive Hunting Pack Regiment with the Throwing Mastiff, a Greater Earth Elemental with the Kragoth and Colarm upgrades, Hernius the Hunter, this time spelled correctly, a Berserker Lord with a Brock, 2 Iron Belcher Cannons, and finally a Stone Priest with the Conjurer's Staff and Banechant 2 upgrades. My thoughts on this list is that it's definitely a little low on units. It's too many toys, not enough boys. I'd probably drop almost all these items to just get a few more units in here. I'm not exactly sure which ones I would pick. The Free Dwarf Ranger upgrade, it's just such a good unit versus, I look at stuff like Glade Stalkers, I think that's what they're called in Elves, in Sylvan kin specifically, and I'm like, well, why don't these unlock if fucking Free Dwarf Rangers unlock? So yeah, Free Dwarf Rangers, great unit. They were great in second ed, they're amazing in third. So yeah, I might err on that side, but you might not have enough points for that. So instead, maybe a bunch more hunting packs, because one regiment I don't think is useful at all. Personally, I want at least 2 pieces of chaff if I'm going to run these small throwaway units. But anyway, the rest of it I think is interesting. There's a bunch. Free Dwarves are just such a cool list. Some excellent upgrades, like the Shield Breakers having Pathfinder and Scout built in is amazing. The Brock Riders can bring a ranged upgrade. I'm not sure I would, but the Brock Riders are a very good unit despite what certain loud and wrong elements on the internet might think. Earth Elementals, I just realized actually in this game are now a -18 unit, so that -18 plus Brutal, that is so good. God, they're so good. Anyway, I really like a lot of things in this list, but I do think there's too many points spent on upgrades and not enough on units. So anyway, let's move into my Night Stalkers. So yeah, this is a 26 unit strength army, so a little beefier there. First off, we have a Horde of Butchers, followed by a regiment of Doppelgangers, then 2 regiments of Reapers, 2 regiments of Scarecrows, 2 regiments of Soulflayers, 2 Planar Apparitions, with one of whom has the Bastion 2 upgrade. That's the end of the 2s. Then we have Triple Mind Screech, a Butcher Flesh Ripper with the Trickster's Wand, and a Horror with the Inspiring Talisman, Aura Vicious Melee Infantry, and Banechant 2 replacing Lightning Bolt upgrades. So this is my first attempt at a third ed Night Stalkers list. I actually enjoyed playing Night Stalkers a lot in second, where I just ran a bunch of Fiends and Planar Apparitions back then. So I look at the list now and I'm like, well, it's even better. The Planar Apparitions are a little weaker and a little better. They're kind of a side grade. They're not defense 4 anymore, but they are significantly better in a world where Elven Archers are just poo-poo. So yeah, I really like it. It actually reminds me a lot of what the Forces of Nature list back when I first started going to Kings of War tournaments back in 2017. I just remember seeing a lot of that, Lightning Bolt a billion and just blowing your units off the table, and back when Lightning Bolt didn't grant cover, or you didn't get cover from it either, so you just exploded. I enjoyed running that or a Forces of the Abyss version of that for a while. But this harkens back to that. And right now, I think we're kind of in a meta where you're going to see a lot of war engines, which is sort of why I wanted to mess around with the Night Stalkers for a bit, because stealthy is a good solution to that. They can get great unit strength, they can still have the shooting, and I really like Mind Fog plus the Trickster's Wand. The Trickster's Wand is a great upgrade, a great solution to problematic pieces like Morgoth, and just how much Mind Fog is in this list makes it so, the combo between the two is pretty interesting. Anyway, I digress. I really like Night Stalkers right now. I think that maybe they're a little overtuned, or maybe Lightning Bolt specifically is. But yeah, anyway, let's move forward onto the mission. So Dominate is a pretty simple mission. It is at the end of the game, you add up the unit strength of all units with a majority of their footprint within 12 inches of the center of the playing area. That's your victory points, and the person with the highest score wins. So yeah, it's another sort of a King of the Hill scenario. I don't know, it's alright. I'm not a huge fan of Dominate just because it's a little too simplistic. It's one of those missions that I think would be significantly improved by having scoring every turn instead of at the end of the game. So anyway, moving forward. Here we see the table, and here's the Dominate area, or a rough approximation of it. So having a 12-inch radius makes it so it almost reaches the deployment zones on each side, but of course deployment zones are slightly under 12 inches, so it doesn't. But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff you can fit in there, especially with it being majority and not completely within. First up, let's go through the terrain. So we have 2 height 9 forests, one here, one here. We changed the heights of the terrain here because we're getting ready for the US Masters, which is at the end of next month, February. So yeah, the forests are height 9 in this game. Then we have 2 height 1 graveyards, followed by 3 height 3 hills. I'm not sure why the picture is moving so much. Anyway, it stopped doing that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 height 2 obstacles on the table, followed by a lone height 7 impassable, which is that house right there. So it's an interesting table. It's probably a little heavy on the cover, like these walls. There's probably a few too many of those, but otherwise, I actually really enjoy a table like this. I think that this is what you need to be seeing stuff like hills in the middle of the table and houses and stuff like that, forests, to make it so things like the 6 to 9 war engine spam or the triple mind screech spam or any of these heavy range lists that still exist in the game kind of have blocked line of sight. It actually reminds me a bit of the problem with 40K once they went to true line of sight, and it just became sort of a shooting gallery, and it became really important to just have these giant pieces of terrain in the way. But anyway, I digress. That's enough about 40K, a game I'm not particularly fond of. So let's get into the lists and deployments. First off, we have my opponent's Dwarf Lord on Large Beast with the Blade of Slashing. That is played by an Old Metal Carnosaur today. Then we have a horde of Free Dwarf Shield Breakers with the Brew of Strength. In front of them, the Mastiff Hunting Pack with the Throwing Mastiff upgrade. This is another thing. I don't think this should have the Throwing Mastiff. And in fact, my opponent, I think the second they deployed him was like, it should probably be on the Shield Breakers and not the Mastiff Pack. But anyway, to the right of that, we have the Horde of Earth Elementals with the Aegis of the Elohi upgrades. Then to the right of that, we have the Greater Earth Elemental with the Kragoth and Coal Arm upgrade, which gives it Scout and Fireball 10. Then we have 2 Iron Belcher Cannons, followed by 2 Free Dwarf Rangers. The one on the left is the Hernius' Handpicked Rangers. The one on the right is the Blessing of the Gods. Oh, actually, in between them is Hernius. I forgot to mark him. So anyway, that's where he is. Then off here, finally, we have the Free Dwarf Barak Riders with the Brew of Sharpness and the Berserker Barakalord, just holding up that flank over there. And going into the opposite of that, we have all 3 Mind Screeches just in a row. This is a deployment mistake that I made because I deployed these Scarecrows first, and I'll get to that in a second. But I really should have deployed one of the Mind Screeches to be 50% in the forest, and then I could have done this cascade down to give all of my Mind Screeches cover and stealthy versus the Rangers, but I was only thinking about the cannons at the time. I don't know. Anyway, this is a minor mistake, but one that I hope to rectify in the future. But yeah, triple Mind Screech right there. To the right of that, we have both of the Soul Flayers are in the back here. They're on the wrong base. I know. I actually brought base extenders for them, and then I realized that I only needed 25 millimeter, a cab base 25 by 50, and I forgot to bring them. I brought 50s, and so we just played them as 125 instead of 150 for that frontage. So small mistake. I will not be using these gargoyle models, or these are Kinnerai, I think they're called. But yeah, I won't be using these in the future. I'll be using something else. But for now, I just put them on the base so I could, have something fleshed out. Then right in the front, we have both of my regiments of Scarecrows. These are my zombies that I painted up for a recent tournament where I brought Undead. I will be doing something to make these, I mean, less of an obvious zombie unit, which is probably going to be adding some models into them with the Legion of Everblight models, some lesser war beasts in there, so they won't. I don't know, scarecrows are weird, and these models are really affixed to those bases already, so I can't really get them out. Anyway, I'll do something. To the right of that, we have the Horde of Butchers. Behind them, the first planar apparition. Then we have both the regiments of Reapers. Behind them is the Horror with the Bane Chant, 2, Vicious, Aura, and Inspiring Talisman. And finally, we have the planar apparition with the Bastion 2 upgrade. Then we have the Doppelganger Regiment, followed by the Butcher Flesh Ripper with the Trickster's Wand just sitting here on the flank. These pictures are a little blurry, but that's what's going to happen when you play late. So anyway, with that, let's get to the game. So turn 1 ends up going to the Night Stalkers. Here you can see my opponent's aggressive scout moves. So yeah, Free Dwarves have a lot of scouts, always really cool. Both the Rangers move to be on the hill, but not 50% on the, or this one might be 50% on the hill. Anyway, not 50% on the hill with both of them, so they can see and shoot, but I will be getting cover benefits. So an interesting move by my opponent here, especially as my Lightning Bolt, my ranged, is not going to take any of those cover negatives. So not exactly sure what's going on there, but cool idea. Then we have Hernius moving forward. You can see Kragoth and Colarm just really booking forward to become a problem. They are def 6, they're dash 19, just a very difficult unit to get through. And finally, we have the Shield Breakers. Being a little pensive, I probably would have just pushed them all the way. I know my opponent was planning to use the chaff right now, but I mean, I don't know. It is what it is, but I probably would have pushed, and I also probably would have pushed into the forest here because I have no Pathfinder. So anyway, some interesting deployment. So to talk about the movement for the Night Stalkers for a second, since it is their turn, we have the Doppelgangers moving up to face off against this horde of shield breakers. They're pretty much a perfect target. They've got 25 attacks on 3s, and they have native crushing, all of which the Doppelgangers want to steal. And they're dwarves, so I'm actually faster than them. So my speed 5, which is not a negative, but it is decidedly average. It is one of the weaker parts of being of the Doppelganger profile. And yeah, we outspeed these dwarves, so they are really, really tasty. So I set up there. I run the Flesh Ripper forward, so I don't get to do Trickster's Wand this turn, but meh. I needed to protect the flank of the Doppelgangers just in case. Right now, Kragoth cannot see the Doppelgangers, but Kragoth is also speed 6, so they could pivot the Kragoth, right, and then move forward and then go for a long surge to get this flank, and I just couldn't allow that, so I put the Flesh Ripper in the way, just doing his job. I move the Butchers forward to tank a charge from Kragoth. I'm not sure I can take this, but a lot of playing a new list, and especially all these new models, because I've never fielded Mind Screeches before, or Butchers, or any of that. So fielding these new models, I at least like to stress test them. So I want to see the kind of damage they can deal and the kind of damage they can take. So I like to just sort of push things forward, which you'll see in the game. So yeah, the Butchers push forward to just accept a charge. If they do tank it, I've got heal 14, so I'm not super worried about it. And I did get Bastion off this turn. Bastion is a spell for the planar apparitions that I'm not sold on, honestly. It's really good, obviously. Getting Rally 1 is an excellent thing to have, but I think I might spend that 20 points elsewhere because the planar apparitions having heal 7 and Mindfog 2 means that they're almost always, in my opinion, going to be have a better thing to do, right? Especially that heal 7. So Bastion is great for turn 1, and then elsewhere I'd rather heal. So anyway, I've got Bastion going at least. The Reapers here are just out of the 12-inch charge for Kragoth. Yeah, I didn't. That 12-inch charge that is rough. I really don't want the Reapers to get charged by Kragoth just because there's a lot of shooting that could go on in this in this game, and the Reapers, even having stealthy, they're just too expensive, too valuable to me to lose to something like that. So instead, charge here, please. I do the triple decker into the woods correctly this time, so I put the first Mind Screech in more than 50% into the woods, and then I just drag them out. So they all have cover, and then they all have stealthy. So their plan is to shoot into over here. You can actually see it's been It must have fallen off the table, but I'm gonna shoot at the Berserker Lord, which is supposed to be right here, just to try to remove it before it gets to do anything. And the rest of my army just sort of meanders in the back here. I did honestly forget for a second about Windblast, because I moved these guys and I was like, I'll Windblast Kragoth, and then I realized that I might give Kragoth a charge onto onto the Flesh Ripper, or onto, actually probably has the Flesh Ripper, but not. I don't want him to charge into the Doppelgangers, so I might be giving that if I Windblast. So I decide not to, and then I'm like, oh, I'll just Windblast the Rangers, and I'm like, oh, Windblast is 18. There's no way I'm within 18. So a bit of a mistake back there. And then the Scarecrows just meandering through the woods. They're whatever. They're just unlocks. So yeah. Anyway, moving forward onto the turn. Oh, nope. We're gonna do the shooting. So I fire off my lightning bolt, and bam! The fallen soldier does not get put back onto the table, because yeah, I end up doing like 12 wounds or some crazy amount there, because I've got lightning bolt 18. So on average, I get 9 hits, and then I get like six-ish wounds, because I think it's Death 4. But I end up doing like 12, some crazy amount. Just one-shot it. Great feeling. And here is the end of turn shot. So yeah, the only thing gone is the Berserker Lord, and we move on to turn 1 for the Dwarves. So turn 1 for the Dwarves, they move as far forward as Dwarves can. So first off, we've got the Earth Elementals just moving out, protecting the Stone Priest a little bit. We have the Shield Breakers, in fact, getting leapfrogged by the Mastiff Hunting Pack here. They are protecting them from the Doppelgangers. It's funny because my opponent's like, yeah, I meant to do this to protect them from the Doppelgangers, and I'm like, oh yeah, obviously you don't want to eat a Doppelganger charge there. But then later in the game, he was like, they steal the attack profile too, and I'm like, oh yeah, 25 attacks, eat it, hordes. So it's interesting. He's just natively protecting himself from my whatever, not even knowing what the stats are, just knowing what I am like as a player. Then we have the Large Beast Dwarf Lord going here. Really good maneuver here. It's nimble, it's Strider, so yeah, it doesn't care about this wall at all, and it's really threatening my Doppelgangers, because they're not even going to be able to charge these dogs next turn, let alone the Shield Breakers, because of that. So anyway, moving forward, you can see Kragoth has moved. So the Stone Priest back here has placed itself as far forward as it could while still remaining 50% in the cover, right? Granted, again, none of my stuff... Oh, no, it does care about cover. Yeah, that's the only thing. So, yeah, it's staying within cover so it doesn't get lightning bolted off the table like the Berserker Lord did, but still within 12 of Kragoth, which is exactly 4 inches from my Butchers. This is something I should have probably... I don't know. I probably should have seen coming to make it so this is not possible, right? But anyway, it doesn't matter too much. Kragoth is getting ready to charge me. Then we have both the cannons who are going to fire into my unit of Butchers, along with the Rangers. So quite a bit of shooting right now, and Hernius, everything going in there. And then the Berserker, the Brock Riders just turn in towards the table, which is a pretty good idea. There's no landing points within 7 inches for the Mind Screeches to hide in. So yeah, it's absolutely fine there. So we go into... we go into the shooting phase, and my opponent ends up doing 4 wounds total, which is not great, but stealthy is, it's a hell of a drug, so it's difficult to get through. Hernius actually missed with all 3 shots because Hernius is a champion. Anyway, we go into, and then Kragoth here just fires out the fireball. I don't think it does any wound. I think it hits once and does 0 wounds. But then we've got the Bane Chant plus Surge here. Unfortunately, there's going to be no Bane Chant. Fortunately, it's already Crush 3, so it doesn't matter. And they get the 4-inch Surge, actually rolling 5 successes, so it ended up not mattering that I slightly misplayed with my placement of this unit. But anyway, so getting in there with Kragoth. Kragoth has 12 attacks on 4s, and then Crush 3. So on average does about 5 damage, puts me at 9. I have Bastion up, so I'm at dash 19. So I'm not super afraid of this, but it could spike. And boo, spike it does. So Kragoth does 14 wounds to me, and then my opponent reminds me that Earth Elementals have Brutal. So that's actually a 15 with my Bastion. That means it's a 4 twice to kill me. and thankfully my opponent obliges with a hot double 1. So yeah, that's a very spiky roll, doing 10 damage to me with just with a 4+2+ unit with 12 attacks is pretty crazy, but then getting a double 1 is super unlucky. That's very bad, but I mean, it's just what happens. Again, this is one of those things where I wish double 1s, it wouldn't matter in this case, right? Because this is a 14 wound, but it could have easily been over that with that kind of a roll. And I really wish double 1s at least wavered you, assuming you got to the target number, right? A 16 doesn't get there. But anyway, get off that and move forward. So here is the end of turn shot. Yeah, this is the only shooting that went on and the only charge. So we go into turn 2. So turn 2, first off, we've got the Flesh Ripper charging into the dogs. I don't know about this. So my plan here was the Flesh Ripper being a smaller base, so only being on a 40, makes it so these Shield Breakers cannot actually charge me, because there's nothing stopping these dogs from hitting their final point, right? Even if you get to choose which way you're going to go, it doesn't matter, because the dogs are going to stop this charge from this horde from being able to charge, because they're too close behind the dogs, and I'm just too small of a base. So anyway, going in there. Over here, you can see, yeah, I have a flank charge with Reapers onto Kraggoth. That's really bad. That's 50 attacks on 3s and Native Crush 1 and Vicious right now due to the Horror's placement and a Banechant access. I also get the counter charge with the, excuse me, with the Butchers into the front just for a little added damage. Then... yeah, here is the end of turn shot. So we've got the dogs taking 3 damage. I don't waver them, so it's not the worst thing for my opponent. If I'd wavered them, it's the worst possible situation there. But I at least don't kill them, so the Shield Breakers are going to be stuck there for a second. I did get the Banechant off here and managed to kill off the Horde, and all of my Lightning Bolt here ended up going into the Brock Riders. I wasn't really pushing too hard, but I rolled 2 of them in the beginning, so I've got 12 shots. I hit with 10 of them, and I sunk like 7 wounds, I want to say, and then the second one only does 1 hit, 1 wound. But I did move the Mind Screeches here purposefully poorly. Which you might be going, I'm sure you did. But I was talking to my opponent while doing this, and I was like, all right, I could just run away, right? Because Mind Screeches are so fast, so nimble. I can just move back 3.5 inches and be out of their charge range and still Lightning Bolt, or I could, fly this way. I can do all sorts of stuff. I can hit them with the Wind Blast as well. But in the end, I decided to see... I was like, well, I want to play with a Mind Screech dying turn 1, and... I don't know. So I just moved him here and went, if I kill the Brock Riders, so be it. If I don't kill them, that's fine too, because I get to see the stress test. I did go for the double Wind Blast here to push the Rangers off the hill. So this one goes back 4 inches. The other one goes back 5 inches because I'm great at dice. Just push them off the hill. Yeah, so now they can't see. They're going to have to move back onto the hill, which gives them a move penalty as well. So yeah, just trying to stack those penalties up. And then I reform these Reapers. As you can see, these Reapers are facing inward just to threaten this the Dwarf Lord, because he's height 4. I backed up with the Doppelgangers because I couldn't... I don't know. I didn't see it at the time, but I also don't know if it was possible to clip the Shield Breakers without going this way. So instead I just backed up, and then the Dwarf Lord is in my front, so that's fine. And we move into turn 2 for the Dwarves. So turn 2 Dwarves, we start out with a little shooting because the pictures are fast and loose this game. So we've got Hernius and both the cannons going into my Butchers, who get them up to 9 wounds. I've been also spamming heal onto them, so healing a fair amount. Get them up to 9 wounds with Shattering. I don't have Bastion this turn, so that's going to be an 8 to kill them. Both the Rangers could have moved forward and shot at them along with Hernius, but they decided to run instead. Hernius shot at him, but failed to do any lasting damage, if I remember correctly. But anyway, then we have over here, yeah, these Brocks with 8 wounds on them just go right into one of the Mind Screeches. Should be a pretty easy kill for them. 26 attacks on 3s due to the Brute Sharpness, and then wounding on 3s with Vicious. Yeah, that's a dead Mind Screech. So yeah, the Mind Screech takes 20 wounds, which it didn't need to do 20 wounds. It's on average it kills it with a double one, I think, but it does 20 wounds, so we marked it, and bye bye Mind Screech. But otherwise, the turn's pretty simple. The dogs charged into my Flesh Rippers. My Flesh Ripper, doing 1 wound to him, but being a dash 14, that doesn't mean anything. The King on Large Beast makes a bold move to come around my flank here. Yeah, a lot of my units are realizing, God, I could have positioned these Reapers a bit better, just slightly more towards the King. I mean, not as far as I just marked, but slightly more towards the King to make it so it had to run 14, which it couldn't do with its angle, because Strider doesn't work for running. So I could have turned in a little bit more, but that's just mistakes you make when you're not very good. So yeah, anyway, it's not in line of sight of the Reapers, even if the Doppelgangers get out of the way, and it's obviously out of line of sight of the Doppelganger, so I just have no solution over there. Ugh, bad move. You can see both the Rangers ran, yeah, and then Hernius over here. Hernius is exactly 6 inches away from this unit of Rangers, but has abandoned these ones for some reason. And then because it went for a clean, or it's going for a clean shot onto my Butchers, I guess. But in the end, it doesn't matter because Lincoln Park and such. They don't roll the hot 8 to kill me, and I'm just gonna heal it back next turn. So a little unfortunate. But we move into turn 3. So turn 3 Night Stalkers. First off, we've got both the unit of Soul Flares going into the front of these Wounded Brocks. That's a pretty simple move there. I mean, Soul Flares are a really solid unit. They're very interesting because, I mean, I say that about a lot of Night Stalkers just because they're a weird army. But yeah, they've got 9 attacks with that 3 to hit and then Thunder 1, Crush 1. So a solid melee unit, and then they're a flying, speed 10 unit. And then they've got that Wind Blast for a little bit of control. So I really like them. A local player in this area, I've only played him once, but I've seen him play a few games, and he really enjoys running a bunch of Soul Flares, and I've just been like, well, that's a very effective unit, so put him into my list as well. The zombies back them up because why not? Or not zombies. Even I'm calling them that then. But the Scarecrows back them up because why not? And then both of my Mind Screeches just come around this side here. They're an inch away from the Brock Riders, and then they can spam Lightning Bolt to whatever they want, since there are a few units to choose from. In the middle of the table, well, yeah, this is the thing. My opponent moved this unit of Rangers forward, but they moved them within 12 of my Reapers, and I'm like, yeah, those Reapers are going to wreck those Rangers. So, I mean, again, Reapers are just super dangerous, and it's different. My opponent's never played against Night Stalkers before, but I did go through all the profiles before, but there's a difference between hearing them and internalizing what someone's saying. So, yeah, unfortunately, those Reapers are going to reap them, I think. And over here, we have, this is on the left, so I did a bit of a fancy maneuver here. So I've got the Flesh Ripper going back into the dogs. The Doppelgangers very, very easily could make this charge by just turning around, getting that corner. Here is an interesting thing, though. So the Doppelgangers, it ended up being that they weren't exactly parallel with the Shield Breakers, but were they? They were equidistant to both paths to the Shield Breakers. So do I get to choose, or do I have to choose the one with cover, or that hinders me, right? What do I do? I assume I get to choose, but I don't actually know, and I didn't look it up. So if you know where that is in the rulebook, or you've heard someone say it and you want to link me to their post, feel free. I'm curious about it. But yeah, the Doppelgangers going into the Shield Breakers, it's not great for Shield Breakers. Doppelgangers are a monster unit against another monster unit. The second unit of Reapers goes into the Earth Elementals. This is not the best charge, just because I don't know. I was going like, Reapers, they do 1,000,000 damage, but those are Earth Elementals and they're dash 18. I was thinking they were dash 17, but that also shouldn't matter too much. I don't have that much damage, even with the Bane Chant and the Vicious. So anyway, those are my charges, and here we see the end of the first fight, which is my Flesh Ripper killing off those dogs, and then the the Reapers, or the Doppelgangers here. Yeah, they do 20 damage. That's 20 damage out of 25 attacks on 3s. I do have Bane Chant on them, so 3s and 2s. This was, again, a mistake. I cast Bane Chant onto the friggin' doppelgangers, not realizing that I charged off the hill. I'm gonna forget that rule forever. So I have Thunderous, right? And I'm already wounding on 2s. What a mistake. But anyway, I do 20 damage to them and pop. They're gone. I only managed 5 wounds versus the Earth Elementals. It's a little disappointing with 25 attacks, but I did decide to not Bane Chant there, so I guess it's fine. And I rolled up. I get a 12, right? So I'm like, aha, I've killed them. I mean, it was a 12 twice. I didn't get it. And my opponent's like, they're a dash 18. I'm like, why have I not put any of my dread over there? Another thing I've been messing up a fair bit is my utilization of dread, just because I'm used to dread being on flyers like Banshees or Apophis or any of those things. Or Apophis? Which of those is it? I think it's Apophis, right? So anyway, I've been used to that instead of these like sort of plotting backfield pieces, which makes the dread a lot, I'm gonna say interesting again, a lot more dynamic. So you get to move in and go like, well, do I want dread here? I could run, planar apparitions just have a lot of play. I do use one of the planar apparitions here to protect my horror, which I need for the vicious buff right now, and the Bane Chant, just because dwarves are so tough. So I'm hiding from this large beast with my planar apparition, which I'm also not particularly worried about that charge because it does have ensnare, and then it's def 3, so the crushing, I think it's only crush 2 on the king, but anyway, the overt crushing is not too great against them. I turned the Flesh Ripper around because I was like, oh yeah, I'll block the king, forgetting that it was nimble for a second there, and then I'm like, well, I might as well just back up with the doppelgangers because no matter what I do, the king has a flank charge on them, so yep, just gonna have to take that one. I forgot to take a picture of this, which is the scarecrows that were in the woods here. They do have wild charge D3, so a pretty solid unit. Go into the rangers on the hill. I just wanted to do 1 damage, and honestly, doing a damage does not matter because it's just to block the reapers from getting a possible flank charge if I flub the dice somehow. So that's the plan there. The scarecrows don't matter to me at all. If they die, they die. So anyway, I do manage to kill off the Brock Riders pretty easily, and then my double lightning bolt, I did like 2 or 3 damage, or maybe 4 damage to this cannon, but nothing more. I did get oh no, that's not this turn. So yeah, that's all I got, and we go into turn 3 for the dwarves. So free dwarves, I did 2 damage. So the free dwarves, both the cannons and Hernias take aim again, and boof, they do put 3 damage onto my unit of reapers here. That's oof. I mean, that -1 to hit, putting the cannons to 6 is just very difficult to get any damage through. So anyway, I took 3 damage, and here's the combo charge, which is the Earth Elementals getting surged into me instead of countercharging. Pretty solid move. They have Bane Chant on them, so they're going to be wounding me on 2s with their 18 attacks, and got 3 more damage, so I guess that's fine. And here is the end of turn shot, because I forgot to take a picture of the king here. So the king actually flank charged. It looks like he just hopped a wall and sat next to me. But the king charged into the flank of the doppelgangers, doing a couple of damage. I think it's 7, but not enough to get a waiver, so that'll be a counter charge there. I did make a mistake here, which is my Flesh Ripper isn't even facing to where the king could go. Like, what am I... Flesh Ripper, I'm bad. I'm sorry, buddy. But yeah, so I just got the doppelganger charge. I guess a planar apparition. And here I get quite a bit of damage onto the Reapers, I think. It looks like that's still a 3. I know I took damage, but anyway. And then finally we have the Rangers going into the Scarecrows for a couple of damage here or there. I thought I took a lot of damage on these Reapers, but I guess not. Oh no, I sure did. Yeah, so they take 11 damage, and they have Brittle, so again, that's a double 1, and my opponent obliges. He's like, oh, here's a second double 1 for you. And I'm like, oh, cool, I love not losing any units for no reason. So, yep, eating a second double 1 there, and here we go with the rest of the... or with the end of turn shot, and we go into turn 4. So turn 4 for the Night Stalkers. My thought here with the Earth Elementals, I had a flank charge with the doppelgangers, and I'm like, well, do I need to have a flank charge there? I've got a front charge with these, and front charge here, and I thought I had another flank with the soul flares, but I didn't. So I'm like, yeah, this will be fine, right? They're already they're at 4 wounds now because they have Iron Resolve. But yeah, they're at 4 wounds. They'll just blow right through them real quick. While the doppelgangers can turn and start messing around with this king. So the Flesh Ripper again makes a sweet decision to go like, but what if I don't kill the Earth Elementals? To stare them down instead of, I don't know, maybe helping with this king that the doppelgangers obviously are not going to do anything to. But anyway, I run one of the Soul Flayers around here just to help out with the game, and the other Soul Flayers are hiding over there to help get rid of these Rangers while I try to Lightning Bolt some stuff. And, oh no, yeah, I went into the Rangers there. I'm going to Lightning Bolt that Wounded Cannon a bit, and I have one of the unit of Reapers has charged into Hernius himself to try to overrun into the second cannon. Oh no, yeah, into Hernius. And here we go, here's the end of turn shot. So first off, on the left, the Dwarven King is fine. I did 1 damage, which my opponent has not marked yet. Or no, I did 2 damage. But yeah, I did 2 damage. Meh, it's fine. I healed a fair bit. I couldn't double heal again. This is just poor placement by me, I think, because I should have turned to make sure I could heal any of these 3 units with the planar apparitions, but I didn't turn this one. So this planar apparition heals my Reapers for 5, so that's great, and then this one heals for 2, which is less than great, but it's perfectly average. And then they both go into the Earth Elementals. They do okay, but then I roll pretty poorly on my nerve check, so, well, I'm not sure how poorly. I do have Dread on them, but they are a dash 18, so I think I have 10 damage on them, meaning I needed a 7 twice, so it's not the worst. This is the worst, though. The Reapers go into Hernius, easily kill him off, and then I need a 2 to overrun, and I roll a 1, so I'm just going to stare at this cannon real quick. And it's like barely more than 1. Yeesh. The other Rangers, on the other hand, are dead. The Soul Flayers, actually the Soul Flayers did not do that well. They went in with their 9 attacks, and I think I wounded twice. But thankfully, the Scarecrows are apparently a dynamite unit and just roll right through them. The double lightning bolt goes into this cannon, getting it up to 6 wounds and getting a waiver, so I'm happy with that. Prefer to kill, but waiver's fine. And then we have these Scarecrows moving towards the center of the field to help with that dominate. And with that hot 11 plus shattering, they pick up these butchers, which unfortunately I don't have a picture of, while the the devastated unit of Earth Elementals charge into my Reapers, doing 6 damage, which is a little high, but still, it's doable. I mean, still 9 attacks on 4s. So, and we go into turn 6 because I don't have that many pictures. The Reapers ended up, yeah, you can see they're still here, but they took quite a bit of damage there. Thankfully, I healed them, so I guess that's good. And the Dwarven Lord had charged into my my Soul Flayers, doing a decent amount of damage, but only getting a Disorder there. So the turn 6 for the Night Stalkers should be a pretty simple affair. We've got a flank charge from the Flesh Ripper finally onto the Dwarven Lord. I couldn't finagle because of being a regiment 150 by 50. I couldn't get out of the way to allow the doppelgangers to charge again. So I mean, I guess it's about the same. I've got 9 attacks on, no, because I could get vicious on them. Anyway, so yeah, I just take the 9 attacks with the Crush 1, 3+ to hit onto the Dwarven King. I sit here with the Planar Apparition. It's just giving Dread onto the King. The other Planar Apparition is doing about the same thing with these Earth Elementals, which are at ungodly amounts of damage. So yeah, just gonna go for a not double 1 there. I do go for a flank charge with my Scarecrows because I'm trying to get in the dominate zone right now, and then I charge with the Mind Screeches onto both the cannons because I thought it might be funny. So both the cannons eating a Mind Screech, and then I send the other Soul Flayers into the Stone Priest, who's still at 8 wounds, to try to kill that off. So here is the aftermath, and in fact the final shot of the game. We've got the Soul Flayers managing to kill off the wounded stone priest right there. I end up with one of the Mind Screeches. They got 5 attacks on 4s, so 15 attacks because it's a war engine. They kill off one cannon, they waver the second cannon. I kill off the earth elementals pretty easily. The Dwarven King goes down because the Flesh Ripper really opens up a can, along with a bit of added damage from the Soul Flayers. So the only thing left on my opponent's side of the field for turn 6 is the cannon, which is wavered. We roll to see if there's a turn 7. There is, and the cannon is definitely going to die because I've got Reapers in the front, and then I have a flank charge. Well, I guess it doesn't matter where it is, but I've got Reapers and then the Soul Flayers, or the Mind Screeches and Soul Flayers if I want to really add in the damage, but I end up just not rolling it. It doesn't matter whether that cannon's alive or dead. So anyway, we go into the tabulation, and here is the Dominate Circle, or a rough approximation of it. I think that these scarecrows might have been in it, but we'll just count them out for right now. So we've got 1 point for the Flesh Ripper, we have 2 more points for the Soul Flayers, we have 1 more point for Planar Apparition, 3 points for the Doppelgangers, 1 point for the second Planar Apparition, 3 points for the Reapers, and 2 points for those Scarecrows. So when you add that all up, it ends up being 13 victory points to 0 for the Dwarves, and it's a pretty crushing victory for the Night Stalkers. I'm obviously pretty happy with this list. I'm pretty happy with Night Stalkers in general. They're a great army. I look forward to playing them in the future and really finishing off this army that I've had sitting around for, 10 years, something like that. I don't know. When did Hordes come out? That's how long I've had these Legion models sitting around. So I'm happy to finally get some added use out of them. I really enjoyed using them in War Machine, and I've enjoyed using them in Kings of War as well. But until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed the battle report, and bye.